Okay. So just as a backstory, I developed this as a part of my outreach efforts. So STEM is the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics efforts. So usually in education, trying to promote students to study one of those fields and get into working in industry or working for a university and all of that. So I am part of the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers, as well as OLA stands for the Organization for, or Hispanic Organization for Leadership and Awareness, which is internal to my company. But we both focus on STEM outreach, professional development kind of stuff. And so one of the things that we do is we go and talk to universities, high schools, and just give them professional development, STEM outreach, talk to them about what it means to be an engineer or a scientist or anything like that. So this is a presentation that I developed a while ago. My task for today was to research and construct a presentation, but since like Amparo said, Toastmasters, we procrastinate a lot. I decided to last minute just use this instead. Why reinvent the wheel, right? So this was a 30-minute presentation. I'll try to shorten it up really quick. So imagine you guys have landed an interview. There's multiple ways to do it. You could have passed the filtration system with a good GPA or networked, depending on what industry you're going into. There might be different roadblocks, whether it's a automated filtration system or whether it's just, finding the right person to hand your resume to, right? So this is something that I just pretty much pulled straight out of Google. So there's my first reference, right? What exactly is the purpose of an interview? It offers the employer valuable insight into your personality, abilities, and it allows you the chance to discern whether credentials and career goals match up with what the company seeks. And I think something that everyone kind of misses, but it's one of the most important things, is the last segment, that your credentials and career goals match up with what the company is looking for. So not only are they interviewing you, but you need to remember that you are also interviewing them. You need to make sure that that is a company that you are going to be proud of working and you are going to be comfortable working at, right? There's different types of interviews. There's behavioral, which is where they'll usually ask questions like, tell me about a time when you were in this situation. Tell me about a time where you failed, or tell me about a time when you were in a group, or something of that sort. There's technical interviews. So especially being in a STEM field, if you're going for, let's say a computer scientist, they might ask you to write some sort of code. And there are also case study interviews, in which case I have absolutely no experience with that. They're a little bit more in depth. They're really long interviews from what I've heard, and there's not too many places that use it, except maybe if you're going into consulting companies and stuff like that. But that's a third type of interview. So things that you would need to do to get ready is, get ready with, your presentation, your grooming, make sure your hair is done, your teeth are brushed, facial hair clean, dress properly, dress for the job you want, not for the job you have. Make sure that you have resumes with you so that, if the person that's interviewing you doesn't have a copy of your resume, you have one for them. Review your resume, because everything that they're going to be asking you, they're going to be cross-referencing with your resume. So it's important to review it. And it also helps you remember possible events that you have gone through at certain jobs or whatever. So when they ask you a question, you're like, oh, I remember that experience because I thought about it when I was reviewing my resume. And also research the company. That's the really important part when you're trying to show that you are interested in that company. They're going to be looking at soft skills. So that will be, the things that you usually hear in interview workshops. So handshakes, make sure that you have a firm handshake and not, the loose, hand like this, or the Hulk grip where you're breaking the person's hand. Make sure they have proper eye contact and body language, right? If you're sitting down, if you're all sitting down, you don't want to be slouching in your seat. You don't want to be leaning forward and kind of sitting like this, right? You don't want to be talking like this and not being able to, project your voice. Um, so make sure that your body language is proper, your speaking ability. Facial expressions is a really big one. Some people have very, very expressive facial expressions that they don't really notice, that they might look scared during an interview, which might be sending the wrong message, or they might be looking, super confident when maybe they shouldn't. Yeah. What are some other things that they're mostly looking for? Is if and this is mostly for behavioral, they're looking for communication skills, making sure that when you're talking to someone, you'll be able to get your point across. They're looking for team working skills because most likely their manager has built already a team that they've worked really, really hard to put together, and so they don't want you coming in and breaking that team up with gossip, with divisiveness, creating silos, right? They want a team that can all work together flawlessly and perform the job at hand. They're looking for trustworthiness, and this is when they're referencing your resume. So if you you can't remember, if they ask you a question and they're looking at one job application or one job title in your resume and you don't really talk about that, then they might start questioning about it, right? They're looking for ability to learn from failures. So a lot of times they will ask you questions about, tell me about a time you failed. If you have no failures at all, then you might be thinking a little bit too highly of yourself, or you might be, you might have never really pushed yourself far enough, right? And interest in the company, to a lot of that stuff. Things to avoid: you don't want to memorize things because then it just sounds like you're robotic. You definitely don't want to complain or badmouth competition if you know someone else that is applying for the same job. Don't ask about salary. That's not the time or place for anything like that. And don't BS questions without knowing anything. I asked my manager and my senior manager for stories, and one of the stories that they said is, there was a person who was already leading on that he knew more, or he was kind of lying. So they made up a software, and he said, "Oh yeah, I'm a professional at that software," and started going on about how he worked on it on that place and that place, and so he kind of got caught. So they will be able to test you on all of that stuff. And here are some questions. Usually at the end of an interview, they will ask you, "Do you have any questions for us?" Here are some that I was able to research and find that were pretty good ones. So if any of you have an interview soon, go ahead and write these down. But if not, that's my really, really condensed interview skills workshop. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.